What's the going rate for a musician in your area? Hi, my name's Randy. Today I'm gonna share with you guys some tips to hopefully earn more money in your gigs and hopefully bid more and land more jobs. I'll share with you the tools that I've been using for the past decade as a professional musician, having worked in theaters, cruise ships, pubs, convention centers, weddings, you name it. I'm gonna share the tools that have helped me land more gigs and better paying gigs throughout my career. Now the lens that I'm gonna use today is working as a wedding musician, but hopefully these tips will apply basically for most types of gigs. All right, tip number one is establishing your base rate, sort of the base package, basically how low you're willing to play for. That's really kind of the baseline, and then we can build up from there. Now at the end of the day, you always wanna charge what you're worth, and you'll know what that is if you feel good coming home from each gig. If you come home feeling like you drew the short straw and you're overworked and you're tired and you don't feel like it was worth it, you need to be charging more. It's that simple. Or maybe you just aren't into being a musician. That's cool too. Maybe there's another career out there for you, but generally speaking, you want to feel like both parties received something good. You gave them a great performance and you earned a great income because of it. Now along those same lines, we never want to charge the minimum pricing, but it is good to know what the minimum pricing is in your area, just so you're not pricing like way out of left field. So I'd recommend typing in your city and then Musicians Union, and usually they'll have like a PDF that you can download that'll show all the base rates for various services. I'd recommend not following that too closely because you should always be charging more than that, but it's a good thing to know basically what people will play for in your city so you can get an idea. Tip number two is testing the water. Now, ultimately, the market is gonna decide what you can charge for your gigs. You know, you can price yourself wherever you want. If people are willing to pay it, that's great. But really what you wanna do is set your prices in a spot where you can incrementally increase your rates year over year. And you wanna find that sweet spot where you're not turning away too many clients, and you're still landing the vast majority of your jobs, but your prices are in a good spot where you're comfortable. Tip number three and tip number four kind of go hand in hand, but tip number three is offering packages. And I do this very specifically for a reason because it changes the conversation with the client. Instead of saying, sure, here are my rates, I say, sure, here's my package A, my package B, and package C. Which one is best for you? Now, when they're responding to that email, instead of thinking, do I wanna hire this guy or not, they're thinking of the packages. I've already sold them on me. Now they're just thinking about the packages. So it's kind of like moving the sale to the next step, and it really helps get people motivated. And I'll actually show you another tip in this next point that gets them even one step further down that pipeline so they're not willing to back out at that point. So tip number four is anchoring. Now this means showing them a higher price first and then a lower price that may be better suited to their budget and their needs second. And that makes them go, well, I don't need that really expensive one. I mean, if they do pay for that, great, that's awesome. I'll put it together for sure. So you're using that technique to sort of give them the burn of the more expensive thing, and then all of a sudden they hear what they actually wanted and it's more like settling. It's like, oh, okay, that sounds like, it almost sounds like a deal at that point. Like I'm getting a really good price on this. An example of using this tip in the real world. So there are a couple different techniques that I'm using there. So technique number one is I'm anchoring with that 850 down to 500 and giving them two different things. I'm painting a picture of what the event's gonna look like. So I'm telling them I'm gonna seamlessly play as your guests arrive, and we're gonna transition nicely over to the cocktail hour, and I'm setting up the event like I care about their event to make it sound a little bit more personal. And then next I'm saying, which option would be best for your big day? I'm not asking them, do you wanna hire me after I've presented myself? No, we're past that. We're now picking the package that's right for your event. So it really gets them to the next stage. And then I always conclude with saying, which songs have you picked for your big day? Do you wanna see our songs list? This is very much intentional. And the reason that I do that is because, again, it gets them dreaming. It gets them thinking like, you know, I kind of wanted that Taylor Swift song at my wedding. Maybe they have it. Maybe I could do that. Okay, and finally, tip number five. Thank you for making it to the end. This is charging for upgrades. I can't tell you the amount of musicians that I know that talk about things that they throw in all the time, like, oh, they wanted us to play an extra hour, so we just played an extra hour. No other industry in the world do people expect you to do stuff for free. So when someone comes up and says, hey, can you guys play for another hour and a half? You know, our wedding's running a bit late. Do you mind? They're not asking you to do it for free. They're asking what would that cost. They're just not saying that. So just keep yourself in the mindset of these generous people are asking, can they pay you for additional services? And I would recommend being comfortable with a couple of different options. So I like to consider what my price per hour is. And that way when someone comes up and says, can you and Bailey play another hour? I'll say, yep, that'll be $200. Do you want me to tack that onto the bill that I send over? They're just gonna say, oh, sure. And they're gonna think, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. He's very confident, he's done this before. The bottom line is you should set the expectation that your services are worth money. They're worth your time and their money and all the effort that goes into that. And I think what you'll find is that people genuinely are pretty happy to pay. So I hope that this information is helpful for you, and I hope that it makes you feel like you can charge exactly what you're worth, because at the end of the day, this is your time and this is your effort and this is your art, and you are so worth the money that you're asking. I think the biggest piece of advice that I can give you is just paint the picture of their day, make them feel very special. That's definitely been successful for us in the past. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, please feel free to go ahead and like down below. That really helps out so much. I can't even tell you. It really does help. Thank you for watching to the end, and that's it for this week. See you guys in the next one.